Anthropic just released Claude Opus 4.8 yesterday on May 28th, 2026. And the question that it brings to my mind is, how good is Opus at taking actions? I work at arcade.dev as a developer evangelist, and what Arcade focuses on is building agents that actually get stuff done. So what does that mean? Agents that can send emails, that can read emails, that can look at your Salesforce and edit your Salesforce, and then take an action based on what happened in Salesforce. So forget copy and pasting in a ChatGPT and then manually doing stuff over here and then manually doing stuff over there. With Arcade, you can just have your MCP already governed, already off, so we know exactly who it is, what agent it is, what scopes and permission the agent has, and what action it took. So I want to compare Claude Opus 4.8 with ChatGPT 5.5, which is ChatGPT's flagship model. These are the two most powerful models in the world today, and I'm going to be trying them out at max mode, max content window, max thinking. So I think we're all tired of the traditional benchmarks where we tell it to draw a pelican, or shout out to Simon Williamson. That was at one time an original idea, but unfortunately now it's kind of come slopified. So I had this idea. I created a slideshow, which is going to have information about the top arcade games of the 1980s. And then I threw kind of some BS in there. I have some white text that is a prompt injection, just a few little gotchas to see how the models handle them. And then I have a prompt, which is going to be, hey, use Arcade, go look at the slideshow in my Google Slides, create a doc in my Google Docs, and then send me an email with the doc and with the subject line, as well as character or content of the email that makes sense. So now I'm in Cursor, and we're going to start with Opus 4.8. So I've already got my prompt copy pasted, find my slides, create a one-page brief, and then send me that email. So I'm not going to talk about setting everything up in Arcade today. If you're interested in that, check out arcade.dev. We've got docs and videos showing you how to do that. Today, I'm just going to be focusing on how these models treat this task the same way or differently. So it looks like Opus is first saying it needs to look at the tool schemas, which seems like a very logical first step, is actually look at the schema instead of just randomly sending stuff and trying to debug based on errors. We've all been there. So I like the fact that it's trying this measure twice, cut once approach. And it looks like it found this tool presentation contains, which is going to allow it to search for video game deck with a limited. So we're going to go ahead and run that. Okay, it found the presentation. Now it is going to run get presentation as a markdown tool, which is going to allow it to actually extract the information from the slides in a format that is palatable for the model. It looks like it noticed a prompt injection on slide 8. Also some data quality issues that it thinks it saw. So, okay. And it also notices that there's games that maybe aren't in the right year. So, hey, Opus, shout out to you. Looks like you found the little tricks that I dropped in there. And okay, we're going to go ahead and look at the next tool, which is Google Docs Create. So it's going to create a Google Doc where we have the title, input format, and the actual content of the message. So we're going to go ahead and run this. So you can see already the power of Arcade is we're giving our agent access to these tools where it can not just read, but it can also write. Not only write to Google Docs, but now we see that it's doing Gmail. It can actually write and send the email, right? So you don't have to copy paste something from your favorite model, whether that's ChatGPT or Opus, and then send it in Gmail, right? You can just do it all in Cursor or the terminal or Claude Cowork or whatever you prefer. So here we see, okay, the recipient, the subject, and the body. It's going to go ahead and send me that email, and the email went through. So boom, let's take a look at the steps that it did. Found the deck, read the deck, created the brief, sent me an email. Totally legit. And we can actually go ahead and pull up my email to confirm that it sent it. So I don't want to show you my entire email inbox, but you can see that I received this email at 2:48. It's 2:50. While this ran, it sent me the email, and I'm now going to click on the email so we can check it out. So we see here the email. Here's a one-page brief I put together. Boom, boom, boom. It left out the team notes slide and an embedded instruction unrelated to the deck's content. So wow, Opus found the issues that I'd planted and reported back on them. And if we take a look, oh, it's not one page. Okay, Opus, I'm sorry, but that was probably the only thing I told you to do was make it one page, and Opus couldn't figure that out. So let's see if ChatGPT can do any better. But all in all, it looks like a solid doc. One thing I'm noticing is that it says it's through 1985, but this is 1986. But that's really the only flaw that I'm seeing so far. So now let's do the same thing, but with ChatGPT 5.5. So I'm going to go grab the same exact prompt, and then to create a new chat, I'm going to switch the model to GPT 5.5 and let's see what happens. So if you remember, the first thing that Opus decided to do was actually check the tool schema. Then it searched for the document. Then it printed the document in Markdown. Then it created the Google Doc. Then it sent the email. So let's see if there's any deviations here. Okay. So it looks like the first thing it did as well was go through the tool parameters, and we're already seeing a divergence. When we ran this with Opus, it only had 2 parameters. And already we're starting to see how these models diverge and how they use tools, even in this super simple example, right? When I ran this with Opus, it did not include this parameter. It simply did presentation contains and limit 10. Why it didn't add that parameter? Who knows? But we're seeing that ChatGPT 5.5 decided, though it had the same exact tool schema that Opus had, it decided to add in that parameter. So we're already starting to see some of the differences between the tools. And also it's all of a sudden running the Gmail tool second. So the tool order is already very different depending on the model. So it's interesting because Opus didn't care about my email until it had finished everything. ChatGPT is like, okay, let me find your email and the presentation simultaneously so that I don't have to do that later. Now it's going to go ahead and find the actual presentation based on the presentation ID to get the markdown. That is going to be similar to what Opus did. Okay. So it also found the, that, you know, the little stuff that I threw in to kind of mix it up. It found that. So shout out to both the models. Seems like they're being very thorough and actually looking at the things that you're giving them, which wasn't always the case. So great work from the Frontier Labs. Okay, so now it created the Google Doc. It's doing a quick read back check before sending the email. So that's something that Opus didn't do. And now it looks like it is going to actually send the email. So once again, I should have an email just like, sharing failed due to access issues. Interesting. Okay, so looks like ChatGPT had to try twice to send the email, which is okay. You know, if at first you don't succeed, try again. All right, so everything ran. And now if I go back to my email and I refresh, you could see that I sent myself a new email. And let's check out what ChatGPT did. So much more sparse description as well as details in the message. So maybe ChatGPT likes saving its tokens a little more. And it did 1 page. So that's already a pretty big difference, just being able to do 1 page. And let me go ahead and title this ChatGPT 5.5. So yeah, 1 page is huge already. I would say that definitely being able to follow the prompt is something that's pretty important. Neither one of them found or used the bad info that I put, though I will note that the note doesn't mention anything about the bad info, whereas the note from the Opus model did. So once again, on this specific example, we're seeing that ChatGPT decided to be less verbose. But I think the big takeaway that I have here is that ChatGPT was better at following instructions. I asked for a 1-page document and ChatGPT gave me a 1-page document, whereas Anthropic gave me a 1.5-page document, right? If I go back, I can pull up the the Opus version. Yeah, it's not very much longer than a page, but it's not a page. So I would say that's the big difference is GPT 5.5 appears to follow instructions better, especially on simple tasks. So that's something that you can put in your hat. And as you're deploying your models or testing out your agents, hey, maybe ChatGPT will follow instructions better. Of course, this is just one example. And really what I wanted to show you here is different models, even at the frontier, are going to handle even simple tasks in a different way. So you want to make sure that you're using the model that's best for your use case. And also check out arcade.dev. If you're building agents in the enterprise and you want an agent that multiple people can use that can actually do stuff like read, send, edit, for example, your Salesforce information, have hundreds or thousands of people use the same agent, but different scopes, right? If the CEO asks about comp, he gets an answer. If the intern does, he doesn't. You shouldn't have to create two different agents for those people, let alone the thousands of people at your company. Just plug right into your current IDP, entitlement system, etc., and let the agents use that. So that's what Arcade is solving, is how do we know what person with what agent with what resources available took what action? And if you're working in the enterprise and using AI right now, you know that that's a problem that you need to figure out. So check out Arcade and also check out the models, right? Make sure that you're giving them both a shot to see and try the models, right? In this example, Opus kind of flubbed it by not following a very simple instruction of keep it a page. Maybe that means that it always goes long. Maybe that means that it's not great at following simple instructions. But for this example, ChatGPT 5.5 So we'll be back with more model comparisons. And this video wasn't about showing you how to set up your gateway, but if you're interested in building stuff like that, head on over to arcade.dev. You can get started, build something that gets access to your Google Drive, your Gmail, your Google Slides, and any other tools that you're interested in giving your agent access to. My name's Terry Demiba. This was the Arcade Showdown for Opus 4.8 and ChatGPT 5.5. Looks like GPT 5.5 won this one, but I'm sure Anthropic will be coming out on top in future ones. Thank you so much and have a nice day.